I've got a little man that's awake. I tried to film this video before when we were walking, and I went off of the main road, and then I passed a school that had an elementary school doing recess, so that didn't work. But I wanted to do a follow-up on the video that I posted this morning about Danilo Calvacante, who escaped Pennsylvania jail, waiting to go to prison. If you guys don't know the story, it's the video that posted this morning, which is September 13th. Hey Laura. So I was gonna do like a whole nother video with news clips about like how he escaped. I could do that if you guys want, just let me know in the comments, but I figured since it's happening in real time, I would just let you guys know, let you know the details here in the live, and then if you guys want to see like the press conferences and all of that stuff, then you could just go back and watch it. I can link it, but I have some major thoughts and I want to share them with you as somebody who has been involved in like prison wife life for so many years. Hey Kat, I decided to do it. I was Marco Poloing Kat before he came on. I'm like, I think I'm gonna do a live, I'm not sure. So that's what we're doing right now. So here is the background story. I posted that video, I stayed up last night, and you know when you have that gut feeling, I had a feeling as soon as this video posted, he would be caught. And that's what happened. I woke up this morning to a text from Kat. She was like, hey, just so you know, here's the article, he was captured. I woke up at 7 o'clock Pacific time, and he was captured around 8:15 Eastern time in Pennsylvania. Then I just woke up, you know, I got myself kind of together. I looked at the comments under the video that posted this morning with all the details, and you guys are on it. You're like, captured this time, heard he was captured. So I was like, all right, now I need to know how, I need to know what's going on, etc. So here's the background story. Last night, you know, first of all, they've had all different areas of law enforcement involved. They've had like what do you call it, like border and patrol, they've had the FBI, they had all of like the local police, and yeah, so D-Money just said, well, everyone was looking for him, and they had huge media coverage, so it's no surprise he got caught. I'm not surprised either. What I am surprised, actually pleasantly surprised, is how it all went down. So let me give you the story. So last night, they're searching, like, you know, a specific area where they believed he was. They didn't release why they believed he was there, and the last thing I had heard on the news was like, we believe he's still in Pennsylvania because we have no reason to not. That makes sense. And they kept getting people that were giving tips and sending footage, like the Ring doorbell footage. So they had this, they were honed in on this area, and they had over 600 people involved at this point. They doubled the force. And around 12 o'clock, midnight, a burglar alarm goes off. Whew. When I tried to make this video before, I literally couldn't say that word. I don't know how it just came out so smooth, but I had to call myself out. So somebody's home invasion alarm goes off, and they call 911. The cops come, they search the area. They don't find Calvacante or anybody, like, so if they were speculating if people were helping him, but they don't find him or anybody there. But then they moved their efforts. They were in the area, but not in that area. So they moved their efforts to that area. So that happened at midnight. Around 1 o'clock, they had like choppers, or they had aircraft, that's what they're calling it, overhead, and they picked up on a heat, like they somehow could capture the movement from heat. I cannot, hey Ro and chat, oh hey, I can't remember the terminology they used, but they were able to capture the heat. So they pick up on it and they see that there's movement, but at the exact same time, a storm, like a weather pattern, comes in. There's a ton of lightning, so they have to make the tough decision to ground that plane for the person who's flying it, for their safety, or the crew that was flying it. During that time, while the plane was grounded, they sent out tactical crews, and so they kind of like weathered the storm, literally. And so around, you know, like just before 8 o'clock this morning, Eastern time, they were able to get the crews back up there, get the plane back up there, and the ground on, now they captured the heat. The people on foot were able to hone in on where he was. He was in the woods, in like a very like woodsy area. So I grew up, let me just like interrupt myself and the story. I grew up about an hour and a half north of where this is all taking place. And the time of year really comes into play here because my dad had like an acre of woods in his backyard in the summer. And even though for some people you're starting to experience fall, like the leaves don't start changing. They don't start falling for at least another couple of weeks. Early September, it's still summer weather and a lot of storms, of course, because now we're in like hurricane season and all of that. But do you hear my peanut gallery in the back seat? He's being so good. But anyway, the woods are so thick during the summer. It's completely different in the winter. In the winter, you could see through the acre of my dad's woods, you could see the highway that's through that acre behind his house. You can hear more. The crickets are so much louder in the summer. The leaves absorb. You can't see through the brush. So that's what they're dealing with. And then they have this weather pattern move in. So that's just besides the point. But like, it's thick there, and it's a lot more like farmland and woodsy there. So there's a lot of shrubbery. It's very easy for him to hide. There's a lot of underground tunnels and passageways, which they talk about on the video that I posted this morning. CJ is so grown sounding. On a different video, you guys, we'll post him, but I just don't want to include him on, you know, this one. So anyway, they start closing in on him, and he doesn't know. He doesn't realize that they're coming. He had no idea, so he couldn't prepare for it. Once he realizes that they're moving in on him, he gets down in a prone position. So there was speculation, and people were asking the police if he was sleeping at that point, and they said they don't think so, because as soon as he realized they were coming, he started like army crawling through underbush. That's why I was trying to explain like the way that the area is, because he was able to get, like, he could possibly have at that point not gotten away, but that's how he got away with it for so many days. Do you hear him singing Mommy Shark? I melt. So here is what I thought was so interesting too. When they got close, they released a dog, a canine, who was able to bite and detain him until the officers were able to come in and arrest him. Now, I thought this was so interesting because the cop that was giving the press conference, that was kind of the face of all this, and we're going to talk about him in a minute, but he was asked about that specific instance. And by the way, this is kind of important, when he was trying to crawl away, because he was resisting, he was giving his every last fight, but while he was trying to get away, he did have that rifle with him that he stole out of the garage yesterday or the day before. So they sent the dogs in, and the guy was like, they do that for everybody's safety, right? For their own safety, so they can like hopefully get the weapon away from him, like de-arm him, and then go in. And the police force, like the tactical team that was on the ground, they are safer, number one. Number two, then they don't have to go in and kill him, potentially. Like, it's safer for everybody. And he's like, just so you guys understand, because they opened up the press conference for Q&A at the end, somebody asked about the dog, and he was like, these dogs are so specially trained that they go in and they like bite at the closest thing that they can catch, and then they're trained to not just like keep biting, releasing. They're trained to hold the person in the specific spot where they are, so then the task force can run in and like arrest, right? But they're not there to kill. They're not there to just continuously bite. They're not there to do anything other than hold the person in place. He did get bitten, and there was like the only so they're saying the only injury was from the dog bite, and they checked him out on scene, and he was okay. They said that he was bleeding from his head, but they had, again, the medical crew come in and check him, and they had wounds bleed a lot, but they said that he was okay. So they catch him, and they have live footage. I could do a video if you guys want that I'll post tomorrow. Just let me know in the comments. But they have footage of him, like all of this, not the capture because they're in the middle of the woods, but of him coming out, and he, number one, looks exhausted. Of course, he's on the run for 14 days, limited food, limited water, probably limited sleep. He's facing the elements, and but they have all of the footage of them like taking his clothing off, because they had to confirm with his tattoos that it was who they were looking for, and not just some other random guy that they found in the woods. Probably D-Money, yes, you're on it. He probably did lose a lot of weight. Now, here's a question that somebody asked too, which I thought was really interesting, is that they said in that Ring doorbell footage, he was clean shaven, he had the hoodie up, but he looked very different than he did during the arrest. They're like, can you confirm that that was actually him? Yeah, here, baby. And they said, yes, we can, because number one, he spoke and he introduced himself on that footage and the people turned it in. But number two, like, he was in the woods for days after that. So he had to brave the elements. I'm sure like this was starting to grow back. He looked dirty. He was wet. It had been raining. There was a storm. So, yeah. So you guys, I'm sorry. I have to open up a cereal bar for him. So we're going to have a commercial for 1 second. But going back really quick. Sorry. Here you go, baby. You're welcome. Going back to what I was saying about when they were bringing him to like the prison van and they were filming it. From what I noticed, from what you could see, they were not beating the crap out of him. He wasn't bruised, bloody, and battered. They were treating him, quote, respectfully. Now, that's what they obviously knew, or not obviously, but the media was there, right? They're filming it. So I don't know if like things changed when the doors shut to that van. I can't say anything other than what I saw. And what I saw was all portrayed by the police officers, the press conference, and the media. That said, you guys, I have so much respect for this man. I wrote down his name, but he's Lieutenant Colonel, I think it's George. Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, I think. I have to find his name. But first of all, this was his third manhunt in that area. They captured somebody 9 years ago to the day yesterday, who was like their biggest, I think it was 2014, 2017. I don't remember exactly. Do I have it written down? Yeah, 9 years to the day yesterday in the Bloomington ambush, and he headed that up. I have so much respect for this man. Number one, for the way that he handled himself during all the press conferences, like every day during the media, because for you guys that don't know, this lasted for 2 weeks. He was not blaming, like he was taking blame. Like people were like, why isn't this, why wasn't he captured? He wasn't being like I can't say the word I'm thinking. He wasn't being soft about it. He was being very compassionate and very like, I don't even want to say stern or firm, because he wasn't, just very matter of fact about it. He's like, listen, there's a lot of unexpected, the conditions are rough. We were in the wooded area. There's weather. That is no excuse. That is not excuse. We have to get our shit. He didn't say these words, but like, we have to get it together. We have to find him, but these are what we're facing. So he took full accountability. And then what I loved was somebody asked him about, if he was something about like the guy's release and when they captured him, they didn't kill him. And I don't remember exactly the question. I wish I did, but his response was incredible to me. He's like, listen, he was like, this man was desperate. His choice was either to sit for life in prison or to try to continue to evade capture. He chose to try to continue to evade capture. He was in a desperate position. He did desperate things. So of course he's law enforcement and he's heading up this thing and he's like trying to, figure out how to capture him during these 2 weeks. He was tired, I'm sure. He was frustrated at points, I'm sure. That did not come across. He was still, in a way, very compassionate toward the victim. And he's like, I'm grateful that we didn't have to go to the point where we had to like take his life. I don't remember the exact words, but I've heard stories throughout the years from prison wives and family members who have been in a situation when their loved ones, the house was raided. I remember one specifically. She's like, they pushed me over. They beat me. I was picking splinters out of my skin from them knocking down the door for 2 weeks straight. She's like, it was so traumatic. I was not involved in what he was doing. I had no idea. So whether that's true or not, that's besides the point. What I'm saying is, like, and obviously you see both sides, right? Nobody is going to be breaking down a door and be like, let me make sure that I'm very careful about this, but he was so compassionate versus like there's law enforcement, and I've seen it with my own eyes, not law enforcement, prison staff, but like that kind of have a chip on their shoulder and they abuse their power and they would go in firing. And in this case, whether they think it's warranted or not, sometimes they just like think it's warranted, and that's not all law enforcement. And this is my opinion, but I think that the good law enforcement would agree with me, right? Because in any type of job, it's just human nature. There are good and there are bad apples in the bunch, right? The fact that he handled this, the colonel, Lieutenant Colonel Bivens, I don't remember exactly how to say it, handled it the way he did. He was cool, calm, collected, compassionate, respectful in the whole entire way. Like, I was just honestly floored. If I needed to go through something traumatic, my God, I hope God forbid, it never happens. I hope it never happens. But like, if it did, or my family member, I hope it happens like in his area, under his watch. He was just literally incredible. Thank you, Laura. Bevins. Thank you. So what is wrong with me? I can't pronounce. So what else did I want to say? So also very respectful towards the other agencies that were all working together. In fact, somebody asked during the news conference, like, so who actually caught him? Like, what agency? And he said, he was like, it was a group effort. And then he named the agencies that were involved. I think it was the DEA, Border Patrol, and then there were 3 letters, PP something. I don't remember, but like, basically he was not taking credit for anything. He wasn't giving anybody credit. They were all working together very seamlessly, very respectfully, even them with the media, because somebody came in and said something about the media coverage and how, sometimes that can be frustrating, the way that they spin things. And it's interesting too, because during the press conference, in the video that I watched, they were speaking, and then the newscasters came in and like did their little interruption, like they lowered his voice and they spoke on their behalf. And the way that they recapped what he said was so intriguing to me. Adam and I talk about this all the time, because they literally like did the fear mongering, right? They recapped it in a way that was so different than the police officers did. And everybody has their own agenda, right? The cops want you to think that they handled this beautifully, this and that. The media wants to get their stories out there and they're gonna kind of sensationalize. But it was just so interesting to me to hear the differences of the two and just having to pull the facts. You know what I'm saying? But regardless, he did a great job. He's like, more than anything, we're grateful that nobody else was hurt or seriously injured. Oh, and this was so sweet. And that's what I was most grateful for. And to be honest, you guys, sorry, I'll get back to what I was just going to say and I interrupted myself, but this thought came in. I don't know why I was more grateful that he was captured than he was killed. Maybe because to give me hope in like the, in just like the everybody coming together and getting it done and not ending in like a, what's the word? Like a violent manner. But I had to like think, like, why do I care? You know what I'm saying? But I don't know why. I was just more grateful. I guess like an empathetic human side. Not that he deserves that, but not that he doesn't, like middle ground. But anyway, I don't know how to make sense of those thoughts, but I was just like really relieved. Plus I was so relieved for the residents in that area, because put yourself in their shoes. Like, it's easy to be like, to be 3,000 miles away or in your own little cushy house and this is what I would do, right? But put yourself in their shoes. 2 weeks with a killer on the loose that you find out has now has a gun and he's sneaking in and out of people's houses. I would not have slept for those 2 weeks. I would have been a basket case. Adam goes out of town for one night and I'm up every hour, So I am just so grateful that the residents in those areas can take a deep breath and they can get a sound, long, like deep night, hopefully, of sleep tonight. Okay. What I was going to say when I interrupted myself before was like, he's like, it's the people in the community that are keeping us going. We're focusing on that, media, all law enforcement, we're all working together. He said a group of 3rd graders stopped by the police station yesterday and brought handwritten cards of gratitude and thanks and inspiration for the cops, like, that are working on this. It just brought me back to like the innocence of my youth when I was so, what's the word? Like, like you feel so enamored by and protected by, before you get older and you get jaded by certain things that happen in your life. And it was just the whole thing, although it was way too long and they acknowledged that, but it also at the same time, like he said it himself, that colonel, he was like, it's not predictable, because people were like, were you nervous that you had to ground that plane when the lightning started? You're taking off your shirt? Oh no. Oh my God. It's okay. I'm gonna go in a minute. But were you you know, nervous that you were going to lose him and he was going to escape again because you were so close. And he goes, nervous is the wrong word. He's like, you know, you can't predict things. You can't script this stuff out. It's life. It happens how it's happening. You have to be able to kind of roll with the punches. So the fact that we had to ground the plane, we just had to like figure out another way, you know? And I thought that was a really good lesson takeaway. The last thing I'm going to say before I leave you guys, because the little man is getting antsy and I don't blame him. He's just sitting in his car seat. We forgot to bring a book or anything like that. But what is the last thing I wanted to say? I forgot. I got distracted by that comment. Let me see if I have it written down. Oh, that's the last thing I wanted to say. So, Annie Marie's like, CJ. So, when I was talking to Adam this morning, I'm like, did you see they got the guy in Pennsylvania? And he was like, I did. And I was like, I don't know. It might have been better off for him if they, you know? And he was like, yeah, he's like, they are going to definitely, number one, make sure he never sees the light of day again. Number two, make sure that he is, now this isn't law enforcement, I'm talking about like cops, COs, prison people, that he is, I'm trying to choose my words. I'm just going to say it, that he's punished for what he did. You know, he makes them look embarrassed. He makes them look ill-equipped. He made them look stupid, you know, and they're going to make sure that he pays for that. So he agreed with me that like for his sake, it might have been better. Maybe, I can't speak for somebody, you know, but that's I'll leave it at that. Something else just came to mind. This is why maybe a filmed video would have been better, but I wanted to get this up and posted. I think that's it. I love you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I just wanted to follow up because like I said, I had a feeling that this was going to happen after I posted that video this morning. So I just wanted to give you the highlights, follow up, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.